Guards moved quickly through the great hall. The smell of fear filled the air. Some alien guests were still coughing and gasping. Others were whispering, looking at the humans with wide, angry eyes. Captain Harris stood still, holding his hands up to show he had nothing to hide. He looked calm, but inside, his heart was beating fast. Around him, his team of diplomats and soldiers stood in confusion. None of them understood what was happening. A few minutes ago, they were sharing wine as a gift of peace. Now, it felt like the whole galaxy was turning against them. From the far side of the hall, High Counselor Varnock of the Veltrax stepped forward. His eyes were full of fake concern and quiet hatred. "You must explain this, Captain," he said loudly. "Your wine has harmed many innocent lives today. Was this some kind of trap?" Captain Harris answered in a steady voice. "We brought our wine as a gift. We drink it ourselves. It is safe. We would never harm anyone." Counselor Varnock narrowed his eyes. "Then why are only aliens sick? Why are your people standing there, perfectly fine?" There were murmurs around the room. The words were spreading fast. The humans poisoned the wine. People were scared, but anger was stronger. 2 alien guests were lying unconscious. Others were being taken out on stretchers by mid-droids. A few council guards raised their weapons toward the humans. "We need answers," another alien leader said. "Until then, the humans must be arrested." Captain Harris stayed calm. "Test the wine again. Let your scientists check it. I will drink it myself in front of you." Without waiting, he picked up a glass of the red human wine. He took a slow sip, then swallowed. Everyone watched him. A few seconds passed. Nothing happened. "I'm fine," he said. "This wine is clean." But no one moved. The silence was heavy. Counselor Varnock stepped forward again. "Perhaps you have trained your body to resist poisons, or perhaps this is a different bottle." Harris's second-in-command, Lieutenant Sarah Connors, spoke up. "We have the original bottle we opened tonight. It's with our team. You can test it." Counselor Varnock smiled coldly. "Of course. Bring it here." Just then, a human guard ran in, breathless. "Sir, the wine bottle is gone. Someone took it from our table." Everyone turned sharply. Captain Harris's eyes locked with Counselor Varnock's for a second. There was something strange in the Veltrax's smile. Now things were getting worse. Without the original wine, there was no proof. The council guard stepped forward and ordered the arrest. The humans were surrounded. Blasters hummed. Captain Harris raised a hand. "Wait, this is not justice. Someone is framing us." The guards didn't listen. They moved in. Just as they reached the human team, a sharp whistle echoed through the hall. A tall, blue-skinned alien female stepped between the guards. Her name was Rilla. From the Trinary race, she was a scientist and also a member of the council. "Stop this madness," Rilla said loudly. "I have known the humans. They are not perfect, but they are not killers. At least give them a fair chance to prove the truth." Counselor Varnock gave her a fake smile. "Of course, Rilla, but they must face justice. They cannot just walk away." "Then let them bring their evidence first," she replied. "If they're lying, I will arrest them myself." Counselor Varnock didn't answer. He simply nodded. But as the guards moved slightly back, Rilla leaned close to Captain Harris and whispered, "Follow me." Now, without waiting, she moved fast toward a side door. Harris gave the signal, and his team moved with her. The guards noticed too late. One shouted, "They're escaping." Blasters fired. The room filled with chaos. Guests screamed. Guards ran in all directions. Rilla led the humans through a back corridor. Harris and his team stayed close. Alarms began to ring. They passed a hallway filled with glass statues, then ran down a service tunnel. At the end, a small hover transport was waiting. Rilla jumped into the pilot's seat. "Get in. Hurry." They sped through the underground roads of Zarnok. The city above was built on platforms and towers, but down here, in the lower levels, It was quiet, dark, and full of forgotten places. Rilla drove fast, turning corners, passing old machines and broken buildings. After some time, she stopped the vehicle in front of a metal door covered in dust and vines. This place was once a Veltrax science lab, shut down years ago. But I think we may find something useful inside. The team followed her into the building. Inside, it was cold and quiet. Lights flickered. Old screens and computers stood along the walls. Rilla turned on a power cell, and some systems came to life. They searched the lab room by room. Dust covered everything. But soon, Lieutenant Connors found something. "Captain, look at this." She showed him a metal container with strange green liquid inside. Rilla stepped closer and read the markings. This is a targeted bioagent. It's made to affect certain DNA types. And look here, notes about trinary, xanthary, and telluric biology. All races that got sick at the party. Captain Harris looked at the file. "Are you saying they created poison that only harms some aliens, but not humans?" "Yes," Rilla said. "And they used it during the wine party." Another team member found a drawer full of wine bottles. One of them had the same label as the human gift wine, but the seal was slightly different. Rilla scanned it. "This is not your wine. It's a copy, a fake. They made it to replace yours." They had proof now. But suddenly, the door burst open. Veltrax soldiers rushed in, shouting. Blasters fired. The humans and Rilla took cover. The small lab became a battleground. Captain Harris fired back, hitting the soldier. Rilla threw a smoke grenade, covering their escape. They ran through the back of the lab, using old tunnels. One of the Veltrax was captured during the fight. The rest ran away when they lost sight of the humans. Later, in a quiet safe house, Captain Harris sat with the captured Veltrax soldier. The alien was injured but alive. Harris leaned in. "Who gave you the order to poison the wine?" The soldier stayed silent. Rilla spoke next, her voice calm. "You don't have to protect them. They left you behind. They will do the same to others. Help us, and you can save your own life." The soldier looked at her, then at Harris. Slowly, he said, "It was Counselor Varnock. He said humans are dangerous. He wanted the galaxy to turn against them." Harris stood up. "We need to take this to the Council. Now we have evidence and a witness. But they will stop us before we get there," Connors said. "They control the guards, the media, everything." Rilla nodded. "Maybe. But the truth is on your side. We just need to show it to the right people." Captain Harris looked at his team. "Then let's get ready. We clear our name, or we die trying." The galaxy was watching. Time was running out. But now, the humans were not alone. And they had the truth in their hands. The city of Zarnak never slept, but in its lower levels, silence ruled the darkness. Tall towers above glowed with light and power, but deep down, broken roads and forgotten machines filled the shadows. Captain Harris and his team moved carefully through one of these silent zones. With them was Rilla, their only alien ally, and a captured Veltrax soldier who had confessed everything. They had escaped death at the peace celebration, but now they needed to prove the truth. The Veltrax had framed the humans, poisoned the wine, and started a galaxy-wide lie. Harris knew the truth alone was not enough. They needed evidence. Rilla stopped in front of a thick, rusted door. Vines grew around the edges, and old markings were barely visible on the metal. "This is it," she said softly. "This place was a Veltrax research lab, shut down years ago. My father told me stories about it. He said strange things were made here, things too dangerous for the light of day." Harris looked at the door. "And you think this lab is where they made the poison?" Rilla nodded. "It's the only place near the Council Dome that's hidden and still has working systems. If the Veltrax planned the wine attack, they may have tested it here." They forced the door open with a tool. Dust and darkness greeted them. The smell was old and bitter, like something had died and dried out long ago. The team stepped inside with weapons ready. Flashlights lit up rows of machines, tables, and broken equipment. Screens blinked with low power, and some machines still hummed quietly. It felt like the lab had been left in a hurry. As they walked deeper, they found rooms filled with samples. Bottles, needles, test tubes, all marked in Veltrax script. Rilla began scanning everything with her handheld device. "Some of these chemicals are banned," she said. "Illegal for decades." Lieutenant Connors opened a drawer and pulled out a clear container. Inside was a glowing green liquid. "Captain, this looks like the stuff from the party. Look at the label." Rilla scanned the writing. "Targeted bioagent. Genetic disruptor. Effective on Trinarity, Talorak, Centauri." "That matches the victims." Captain Harris stared at the vial. "This is it. This is what they used." Nearby, another soldier found a case full of wine bottles. At first glance, they looked exactly like the ones the humans had brought to the celebration. But the seal on the neck was a little different. Rilla scanned it. Her face grew serious. "These are fake. These bottles were made to look like yours. But the seal has Veltrax code." "Then they switched our bottles before the celebration," Connors said. "That's why our wine vanished. That's why the bottle we used was gone." Harris nodded slowly. "They poisoned their own fake wine, made it look like ours, and let the aliens drink it. Then they blamed us." Rilla walked over to a large screen and turned on the power. A video started to play. It showed a Veltrax scientist working with the poison. Behind him were guards and someone standing in the shadows. The voice was low and clear. "Make sure it only affects aliens. Humans must remain unharmed. When the party begins, switch the bottles. The council will turn against them. The humans will fall." Harris leaned closer. "Who is that? Can you enhance the image?" Rilla pressed a button. The screen zoomed in. The face in the shadow came into focus. It was Counselor Varnock. The team stared in silence. They had what they needed now. Proof that the Veltrax had planned the attack, created the poison, and blamed the humans. Just then, alarms blared through the lab. Red lights flashed. The team turned, weapons raised. "They found us," Rilla said. "The Veltrax are coming." The main door burst open. Soldiers in black armor stormed in, firing energy blasts. Harris and his team took cover behind metal tables. Rilla grabbed a blaster and returned fire. Smoke filled the room. Sparks flew. The lab became a battlefield. Harris shouted commands, moving his team into position. Connors hit one of the attackers with a clean shot. Another human dragged the captured Veltrax soldier to safety. Rilla ducked behind a control panel. "There's a tunnel at the back," she shouted. "It leads to the surface." "We're not leaving without the evidence," Harris replied. He grabbed the vial of poison, the fake wine, and the video file. One of the human soldiers was hit in the leg. He fell, groaning. Harris helped pull him behind a support beam. "We're losing time," Connors said. "We need to move now." The team dropped a flash bomb, filling the lab with bright light. Then they ran through the side tunnel Rilla had mentioned. Behind them, the Veltrax soldiers shouted orders, but the smoke and confusion gave the humans a few extra minutes. The tunnel was narrow and dark. It curved upward and opened into an old maintenance zone. There they found a transport vehicle, probably used long ago by workers. Rilla jumped into the driver's seat again. "Hold tight." The vehicle sped through the tunnels, dodging pipes and collapsed walls. After several minutes, they reached the outer ring of the city, far from the central dome where the council met. The safe house was a small underground shelter. It had food, water, and basic communication tools. Rilla had set it up long ago in case of emergency. Now, it was the only place they could hide. Inside, Harris played the video again. The Veltrax soldier they had captured sat nearby, looking nervous. Connors stood guard at the door. Rilla watched the screen. We need to show this to the council, but they won't believe us unless we get inside and speak in front of them. They'll try to stop us, Harris said. They control the media. They control the guards. They may even try to destroy the council chamber if they think the truth will come out. Rilla looked at the captured soldier. Will you speak in front of the council? The Veltrax nodded slowly. Yes. I want to live, and I don't want to be part of this lie anymore. Harris turned to his team. Then we go back. We break into the council meeting, and we show them the truth. Connors raised an eyebrow. That's a suicide mission. Maybe, Harris said. But if we don't try, every human colony will be in danger. The galaxy already believes we're monsters. We have to clear our name. The team began to plan. They would enter the council tower through the service tunnels. Rilla had old access codes. They would reach the main hall during the emergency meeting scheduled for the next morning. That night, the team rested in turns. No one spoke much. Everyone knew the risk. But each one of them believed the truth was worth fighting for. Before dawn, they packed everything. The poison, the fake wine, the video, and the witness. They put on old worker uniforms to blend in. As they walked into the tunnel toward the council dome, Rilla whispered, Once we step inside, there's no turning back. Captain Harris nodded. Then let's step in together. They disappeared into the shadows, carrying the truth that could save their race or cost them their lives. The council chambers were massive, silent, and full of tension. The high seats overlooked the center of the room, where a great table stood. Delegates from all over the galaxy were gathering, their faces worried, confused, and angry. The humans had broken the law by entering the chamber without permission, and the Veltrax had already made their accusations clear. The air smelled of fear and suspicion. Captain Harris and his team stood at the far end of the room, their hands raised in surrender. They were surrounded by guards, who had their weapons trained on them. At the head of the table sat Councillor Varnock, his face tight with anger. The other members of the council were divided, some whispering to each other, others glaring at the humans in the room. This is a grave violation, Captain Harris, Varnock said, his voice cold and sharp. You and your team have disrupted the peace of this council. You will answer for your actions. Harris stood tall, his gaze steady. He had no fear. He knew the truth, and now it was time to reveal it. We're not here to cause chaos, he said. We're here to clear our name. And we have the evidence to prove it. Rilla, standing beside him, stepped forward. She held up a data pad, and a flicker of hope went through Harris. She pressed a button, and the image of a Veltrax scientist appeared on the screen. The room fell silent as the image zoomed in on the face of Councillor Varnock. This, Rilla began, is the truth. This is the moment the Veltrax made their plan. They poisoned the wine, intending to frame the humans. This video was recorded in their secret lab. We have it, and we have proof. The room exploded in chaos. Some delegates gasped. Others stood up, shouting in disbelief. Councillor Varnock's face turned white with fury. This is a lie, he shouted, slamming his fist onto the table. You think you can accuse me of such treason? But Harris didn't flinch. He had prepared for this. He looked directly at Varnock. The poison, the fake wine, the video, all of it leads back to you, Harris said. You orchestrated the whole thing. You framed us, and you planned to turn the galaxy against the humans. One of the delegates, a tall and serious-looking alien with sharp features, stood up. We have to verify this evidence. This is too serious to ignore. Harris nodded. Of course, we will allow your scientists to test it, but we are not leaving until the truth is known. Varnock's eyes were cold, his hands shaking with rage. You have no proof. You are nothing but criminals. Rilla held up her hand. We do have proof, and we will not leave until it is shown to everyone here. For a moment, the room was still. The truth was out in the open, and now there was no going back. The council members glanced at each other, some looking nervous, others angry. Harris felt the tension rise. The guards around them hadn't lowered their weapons. He could feel their eyes on him, waiting for a sign that would give them a reason to act. They were ready to arrest him and his team if things went wrong. Suddenly, a voice cut through the silence. It was soft at first, but it carried a weight of authority. "I believe the humans," said a calm, deep voice. Everyone turned. The voice belonged to a Trinary delegate. He had a peaceful look, with golden skin and bright eyes. He had been quiet throughout the meeting, but now he was standing tall, his gaze locked on Varnock. "We are not quick to trust the humans," the Trinary said, "but I have known Captain Harris for many years. He is no liar. If he says the Veltrax did this, then I believe him." The room fell into another heavy silence. This time, more eyes turned toward the Trinary. The Veltrax delegation, sitting nearby, glared at him, but they said nothing. Varnock slammed his fist on the table again. "You dare side with them?" His voice was shaking with anger. "The humans are dangerous. They've been hiding their true nature. They've poisoned our people. Enough." The Trinary delegate interrupted. "You have no proof of that. But we do have proof that you tried to poison the humans. Your own scientists made the poison, and you wanted to frame them." The room went quiet once more, but this time, something was different. The other delegates began to murmur among themselves. Whispers of doubt started to spread. Varnock's face twisted in anger, but he couldn't stop the truth from reaching the council. Harris stepped forward. "The video, the poison, the fake wine. It all came from your lab. We didn't do this. We were targeted." Rila added, "We've already sent samples of the poison to the medical labs. They will confirm everything." Varnock looked like he was about to speak, but his words were cut off by the sound of footsteps. The door to the council chamber opened, and a group of medics rushed in, carrying a large data pad. They quickly handed it to one of the council members. He examined it carefully, then stood up. "The analysis is complete," the council member said. "The poison in the wine matches the samples found in the Veltrax lab. It is designed to affect certain alien races. It was not a random accident." A wave of shock passed through the room. Some of the council members looked toward Varnock, and it was clear that their faith in him was beginning to crack. His reputation was being torn apart right before their eyes. Varnock tried to regain control. This is a setup. You can't trust them." But his voice was weaker now. The truth was starting to sink in. The council members were looking at him with suspicion, their trust in his words wavering. Harris knew they had won, but it wasn't over yet. The room still felt tense, and Varnock wasn't ready to give up. The danger wasn't gone. He had to finish this. He had to make sure the galaxy knew the truth. "We are not enemies," Harris said, looking directly at the council members. "We came to Zarnok in peace, and we want to clear our name. But we will not let this lie destroy our future. The humans are not your enemies. We want to work with the galaxy, not against it." The Trinary delegate stood beside him. "The humans are a young race. They make mistakes, but they have shown great strength and bravery. I stand with them." The atmosphere in the room shifted. Slowly, more and more council members began to stand, one by one. They didn't speak, but their body language told the story. They were on Harris's side now. Varnock's face grew darker with every passing moment. He tried to speak, but his words were lost in the rising wave of support for the humans. It was clear to everyone now. The truth had come out, and there was no hiding it. Finally, the head of the council, a tall, ancient alien with smooth skin and silver eyes, stood. The room went quiet as his gaze swept over the chamber. He spoke slowly, but his voice was calm and powerful. "Captain Harris," he said, his voice carrying across the room, "the truth has been revealed. The Veltrax attempted to frame your people, and we now know that the poison used against our delegates was their doing. You and your team will be cleared of all charges." A collective breath of relief swept through the humans in the room. Harris nodded, but his eyes stayed focused on Varnock, who was now standing alone, a shadow of his former power. The head of the council turned to Varnock. "As for you, Councillor Varnock, you will stand trial for your actions. You have betrayed the trust of this council and endangered the peace of the galaxy." Varnock's face twisted in fury, but he said nothing. He knew it was over. His lies had been exposed, and now he would pay for them. Harris turned to his team. "We've done it," he whispered. Rilla smiled. The truth always finds a way. The humans were no longer the accused. They had won. The galaxy would soon know the truth about the poison, the lies, and the true face of the enemy. But even in victory, Harris knew the fight wasn't over. There would be others who would still try to bring down the humans. The galaxy was full of those who feared what they didn't understand, but they would face those challenges together, with the truth as their weapon. The council was in chaos. Councillor Varnock had been removed from his position, and a special tribunal was being set up to judge his actions. News of the Veltrax's betrayal spread quickly across the galaxy, and within hours, the media had begun to report on the truth. It was a shocking revelation. The humans were not the monsters the galaxy had been led to believe. The Veltrax were the ones who had been plotting against them. Harris and his team sat in the small room they had been given after the trial. The air was thick with the weight of everything that had happened. They had won, but the battle was far from over. The galaxy now knew the truth, but would they forgive the humans for the mistakes they had made? Would they accept them as allies or continue to fear them? Rilla sat at the table, her hands folded together. "The galaxy's view of us has changed. Some will see us as heroes, others as enemies. But we can't go back to the way things were. We need to make sure we prove we're ready for this." Harris leaned back in his chair. "I don't know if we'll ever be completely accepted, but we've made a start, and the truth is on our side. That's what matters." Connors, who had been silent up until now, finally spoke up. "The Veltrax are not going to take this lying down. They've been exposed, but they're still a threat." "I know," Harris replied. "They'll want revenge. They'll do anything to try and regain control. But they won't succeed. Not this time." There was a knock on the door, and a representative from the council entered. He was a tall, serious-looking alien with pale blue skin and sharp, intelligent eyes. "Captain Harris, Rilla," the representative said, bowing slightly. "The council wishes to meet with you. They have made their decision." The team stood up, exchanging glances. This could be the turning point. The council's decision could either solidify their place in the galaxy or drive them back into the shadows. The representative led them down long, polished hallways. The council chamber was filled with representatives from many races, each sitting in their own section. Harris could feel the eyes of the galaxy on him as they entered. The room fell silent, and the head of the council, the ancient alien with silver eyes, stood up. "Captain Harris, Rilla, Connors," he said, his voice deep and commanding. "The galaxy has heard your story. It is clear that the humans were victims of a conspiracy, and that the Veltrax were the true aggressors. You have fought for the truth, and for that, the council honors you." There was a pause, and then the council members began to applaud. It was not a loud cheer, but it was enough. It was the start of something new. "We understand the difficulties your people have faced," the council leader continued, "and we acknowledge the bravery of your team. We will work with the humans to rebuild trust in the galaxy. You will be given resources, support, and a chance to prove that your people are not the monsters that many have believed you to be." Harris nodded, his heart swelling with pride. It wasn't going to be easy, and there would be those who would continue to oppose them. But this was a start. They had made it through the worst of the storm, and now they had a chance to build something better. "Thank you," Harris said, his voice steady. "We are ready to prove ourselves." The council leader smiled. "We look forward to seeing what the humans can accomplish. But remember, this is just the beginning. There will be challenges ahead. You will have to earn the trust of the galaxy. but we believe you are capable of doing so." As the meeting ended, Harris and his team walked out of the council chamber. The weight of the galaxy's eyes was still on them, but it wasn't the same as before. Now, it was a weight they could bear. They had proven themselves. The truth had been heard. Outside, the city of Zarnuk stretched out in front of them. It was a city of both the old and the new, a place where ancient buildings stood alongside towering structures of glass and metal. It was a place that had seen the rise and fall of many powers, and now, the humans had a place in its history. Rilla turned to Harris. "What now?" Harris looked at the horizon, his eyes focused on the future. "Now, we build. We work with the council. We help our people grow and prove that we belong here. And we make sure that the mistakes of the past never happen again." They walked together, side by side, knowing that the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but they were ready. The truth was on their side, and that was the strongest weapon they had. As they left the council building, Harris couldn't help but feel a sense of hope. For the first time in a long time, he felt like they were on the right path. The galaxy wasn't perfect, and there would always be those who feared the humans, but they had made a mark. They had shown the galaxy who they truly were. And that was just the beginning.